Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about this, the Energy Kodiak Apex. We're going to be doing a quick initial review, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so this is the Energy Kodiak Apex. I've had this thing roughly about 3 weeks. Did an unboxing video about 3 weeks ago. Used it for about 3 weeks so far, so this is going to be an initial review, not a long-term review. But anyways, you guys already saw the unboxing. This is what comes in the box. This is the Energy Kodiak Apex. Right now I have it plugged in through its EC8 connector and it's charging outside. We'll go outside and take a look at it later to see some of those Energy Kodiak Linx panels. But let's talk about some of the things I ran into over the last 3 weeks or so. All right, guys, let's talk about some of the pros and cons about this Energy Kodiak Apex. Some things I think you guys definitely need to know if you guys are thinking about investing in something like this. So it has the normal household. It's got 6 of the normal household outlets, the 3-prong outlets. And each outlet is rated for about 10 amps continuous. So remember, the unit itself has a 1500 watt inverter, but each outlet is only rated for 10 amps continuous. The combination of all of them are rated for 1500 watts. So what does that mean? That means if you want to get 1500 watts out of using these outlets, you cannot pull 1500 watts, at least not for a long period of time, out of one outlet. You need to use a combination of 6 of them to pull all 1500 watts out of it. So make sure you keep that in mind, because if you got some high drain devices or high current devices and it may exceed 10 amps and you plan to run it for a long time, you cannot run it out of just one outlet. And we're going to get more into that later because that's another slew of issues. If you do want to pull 1500 watts out of one outlet continuous, you need to use this plug. This is a 30 amp RV plug, mainly used for RV situations. But most people do not have devices that plug into something like this, especially in their household. So they need to get something like this. This is a outlet converter that takes this 30 amp plug and converts it into this 15 amp plug. So if you have, like, let's just say an AC or something, a portable AC that you would want to run, that it's on the smaller spectrum on the lower side and meets the requirements here, you could technically run a small AC from this plug right here. You could also theoretically run a small AC from these plugs right here. I wouldn't necessarily do that, primarily because each outlet is only rated for about 10 amps. If your AC takes maybe 8 or 9 amps, that may be okay. But I'll mainly plug this in here, then run it out of there. Okay, so remember, 1500 watts out of one plug, you need to get something like this. I'll leave a link for the one that I used, or at least the one that I got, in the description below. And works fine for me. All right, so the second thing we need to talk about is this battery, or the battery that's inside of this unit. The battery inside of the unit is a lithium NMC battery, and it is, I believe, somewhere around 1100 watt hour battery. What does that mean? It's roughly around 12.6 volts at 90 amp hours. That's roughly around 1100 watts. But the thing that you guys need to know is that the battery is only rated for 550 watts discharge continuous for 2 hours. Why is that important? That's important primarily because even though the inverter itself may be rated for 1500 watts continuous output, the battery is only rated for 550 watts continuous output. So that really means this unit, as it stands or as itself, is only a 550 watt continuous output inverter. If you do not connect solar or extra batteries or whatnot, you should only really be pulling 550 watts out of this unit. And that is a very big item that everyone needs to know, primarily because it's marketed as a 1500 watt unit, and it definitely is if the inverter is. But what the gimmick is, or the kicker is, the 550 watt continuous output battery is limiting the inverter from really doing 1500 continuous watts. So how do you get something like that? What you need to do to get something like that is you also need to be plugging in and charging. Besides that is you need to connect out more battery capacity, more battery banks to this unit. So if you have more battery banks that can discharge more, and also plus the 550 watts out of here, you can pull about 1500 watts continuous out of this unit for about at least 2 hours, or so its rating specifications. So that means you would need to have a battery bank connected to here that could put out somewhere around 1000 watts continuous, okay? And even if then, you'd only really be limited to about 2 hours. So that's gonna be a problem. Why is that gonna be a problem? Because That's only 2 hours. Continuous readings are not necessarily for 2-hour periods. That's why the word continuous is in there, all right? That's not what continuity means. Anyways, those are two major items that I wanted you guys to know about that, primarily because there's a lot of marketing hype out there. Don't get me wrong, this is a pretty good unit. It's an expensive unit for what it really is, but it's built really well, built like a tank. It's built out of mostly metal carrying case, and pretty much what it is. We're gonna go outside and take a look at how it's charging. But the other thing I want you guys to know is this comes with EC8 connectors, okay? And the EC8 connectors, I really don't necessarily like them because they're a little bit more finicky. The Nutric PowerCon connectors and whatnot are definitely a lot better. But I do understand why they did this, because after talking to some people, a lot of people were overvolting or overcharging their energies, and it was burning them out. So here's the issue with this connector. See how hard that was to get off of there? So this is what I would call a female EC8 port or EC8 plug. In electrical connector speak, that's what I call it. You can call it whatever you want. But when I first got this unit or this plug, and anytime I try to plug it in here, it is extremely difficult. It almost felt like you were doing something wrong and you were gonna break it. It's a really tight fit. So watch. I'll see if I can turn this around so you guys can see it. And it's almost the same size, even though technically the plug in here should be a millimeter or so smaller than this plug. Okay, this is a Southwire cable. It's a pretty decent cable. It's 8 gauge. It looks like it's rated for underground, low voltage, low amperage connections. The cable itself is okay. I really don't like it how it's two separate cables like this, primarily because it's not as easily flexible, or it's not as smooth in terms of flexibility. It's better to have like a thicker round cable, in my opinion, but that's just personal opinion. Light comes on, it's charging. We'll go outside and take a look at some of the panels, but watch how hard it is to put it in and take it off. When you're pulling this off, I would recommend you do not pull on the cable itself. Yes, it is soldered in there, but that's just not good practice. So try to grab it by the end. And pull it out. So one of the things in here you need to know, this is the port that has the MPPT controller. You can plug it into a wall outlet here. So you can now plug in both at the same time, so do not do that. Plugging in, it's definitely gotten a lot easier over a while. It's got 3 breakers on here. But that's pretty much what's going on here. If you flip it to the right, the inverter will come on. It does draw somewhere around, I've seen 12 to 14 watts for the inverter just being on, whether that's the fan or whatever it is, just idling. So it does, if you leave it like this, it will pretty much drain your battery. If you turn this way, it'll enable these DC ports. Initially I was really hoping that this power delivery connector put a lot more wattage out, but I think it only does somewhere around 15 watts. I gotta go look it up, but that's pretty weak. I really wish it would do up to the 100-watt profile of the power delivery connector. That way people with MacBooks or anything with USB-C devices would be a lot better off. So that's pretty disappointing. Make sure you know that. There's light output you could do here. Remember, 10 amps, 30 amps, all of these combined, 15 amps. Technically, you really shouldn't do 30 amps out of this internal plug, but that's what the plug is for. So, plug. Those are the main big gripes about this unit. Don't have too many complaints. I did run a portable AC off of this unit for a few hours, and then it was getting really hot, and that's how I looked up all the specifications and realized that this is learn about the ratings for each item. That's how you really learn about the battery. So that's pretty disappointing, huge marketing hype. I think I will have a hack for this, extending your battery capacity on here sometime in the near future when I get a chance to work on it. But I have a few hacks, and if you guys know, I like hacks. So we'll talk about that. So we'll go outside, take a look at some of the panels charging outside, and we'll be back. Hey guys, so this is the Energy Linx solar panel. This is supposed to be real orange. It was actually really orange when I first got it. It's been out here for a few weeks, so it worn a lot. We'll go over some of the wear. Actually, we already went over some of the wear earlier. But anyways, coming out of the panel, there's two cables, two of the exact same cables. I'm not sure what's actually in here. Could be wiring, could be a diode, didn't check. I'm not sure I really want to pull this apart because then it would require caulking it and putting it back together, or you could damage it. Anyways, the point is that there's roughly almost 2 feet of cable coming out of here. This is not a south wire cable. This is a Zhenghui cable. It looks like it's a 10 gauge. And it's not south wire. Zhenghui looks like it's made in China, so to say, or so it looks like. Anyways, this is the cable. It has 2 male plugs. I'm not sure why people call these female plugs, but this is a male EC8 plug. I've seen a lot of people on forums and videos call this a female plug, but in electrical connector speak, this is a male plug. So it's got 2 of the exact same plugs. And you cannot connect this solar panel in parallel or even in series with another panel, because all the panels that you get, the Linx panels, have 2 EC8 male plugs. It's impossible to connect it like so out of the factory configuration without doing some wiring. Anyways, so what they give you is they give you a like 4 to 6 feet cable, and this cable is a south wire cable. This cable is also 10 gauge. It's rated for underground, it looks like. Low energy underground circuit cable. So this is a parallel cable that they give you to connect the solar panels in parallel. And it comes with 2 EC8 female plugs. This is an EC8 female plug. I'm not sure why other people call this a male plug, but in electrical connector speak, this is an EC8 female plug. And 2 of the same plugs on the cable. So you cannot connect this together either. So the point of this cable, the reason they gave you this cable is because they want you to connect all the solar panels in parallel. So, like we said, you can't do this, and you need to use this one cable coming out of here. You need to connect it to this parallel solar cable, and then you take the other end of this cable and connect it to that right there. That is another cable coming out from the panel over there, and I'll show you. Now, this panel is connected in parallel with that panel over there. Actually, there's a few panels over there and they're all connected in parallel. But that's how they expect you to connect these cables, or connect the panels together in parallel. And they want you to connect them in parallel, not in series, because a lot of people connect them in series and have burnt out the circuit or burnt out the charging and the energy. Anyways, and you take this and you connect this to the Inergy Kodiak, to the solar charge port using the long cable. And the long cable is exactly the same as the 30-foot long cable is exactly the same as this parallel cable, except it is a thicker gauge, so it's rated for more current, and it is longer. And I believe that one is also a south wire cable. So that's pretty much how you connect the solar panels in parallel, and then connect them to the energy. Any one side of this, you should take this, connect it to the energy, and we'll be back inside a little bit. But anyways, I just wanted to show you guys what the Energy solar panels look like, especially since there is not a lot of videos about these Linx solar panels from Energy. Let's take a little close-up look into some of the wear. So this is the wear. You can see this thing that used to be orange is actually completely yellow now. These little eyelets have rusted over. Even some of the rust got on this, what do you call it, zip tie. Almost all of them had rusted over a pretty good bit. But this is the panel. The panel seems to be pretty good. I've been a little bit disappointed with the panel, primarily because they count these as 100-watt panels, but even in direct sunlight, and I do angle them, they do not seem to achieve anywhere close to about 100 watts. The most I've ever achieved with all 3 of these panels connected in parallel with direct sunlight pointing directly at them is roughly around 178 watts. And yes, that is angled towards to get the maximum light. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on with these panels. They do work, but they just don't seem to be as effective as as the, I don't know, specifications. Anyways, the real reason I contacted energy support was primarily because you can see here, I actually received the panel where the eyelet, metal eyelet, was knocked off, either in shipping or wherever it is, but it was just rattling around inside the box. Also, this little area right here, you can see, has not been manufactured very well together. I actually thought it was a crack. I looked at it. It's not really a crack. It's actually a defect in manufacturing. There's a big, what do you call this, like an air gap right here. So not sure how long this is going to hold up. We'll see how it goes. This has been pretty much in the direct sunlight for a while, except for on rainy days or whatnot. Hasn't worn too much, except for this sticker lettering right here. So this is what the Energy Linx solar panel looks like. This is supposed to be a 100-watt panel. I've kept it outside here on this table, pretty much zip tied to a table ever since I've gotten it, and this is pretty much how it's worn. I did not install it here, and I do not plan to install it here permanently. Actually, I don't intend to install it anywhere permanently because this is really a light travel kit, so to say, or a bug out kit. I don't plan to use it for a bug out kit, but this is pretty much what it's for. And the reason I got the Linx panel is because I do not plan to install it on any permanent installation. That's primarily that's probably the reason almost anyone should get a Linx panel, or else you should save a lot of money and go with these, I think they call them the solar storm panels. But the Linx panel, or the reason I got it, is because it's thin, easy to carry, easy to travel with, and small and light, doesn't take up as much room. You could stack all of these together and probably take up as much room as one of the storm panels. But this is pretty much how thin the energy panel is. It's thinner than what you would consider like one of those foam project boards that kids use for like science projects. It's much thinner than that. It's probably about the thickness of maybe 5 to 6 poster boards that you put together, or a 1-ply box. Not a heavy duty box, but pretty much one of those 1-ply box. This is the thickness of it. On the back side, it's almost completely empty, except for the little sticker on here that they have to say it's an energy product. This is the model number PE0LN1-010. Max power, 100 watts. Max operating voltage, roughly about 17.7 volts. Max operating current, about 5.65 amps. Open circuit voltage, 21.61 volts. Short circuit current, 5.74 amps. This is CE. This really means China export, or made in China, for those of you guys who do not know that. There's also warnings on here, electrical warnings about this solar module produces electricity when exposed light. Cover all modules in the PV array with opaque material before making any wiring connections. Pretty much it says be safe and don't try to wire stuff while it's generating electricity, because you could get shocked, even if it is low voltage and low current. You do not want to get shocked. You know what they say, guys, safety first. But anyways, this is what's on the back of the panel. The back of the panel is pretty clean. Hey guys, so this is what I'm talking about, the poor performance of the charging of the Linx panels. Right now, the only thing drawing power from this is this Ryobi battery charging device. Actually, let me unplug it and then we'll see how much is going on. But right now, it's charging at 126 watts with 3 panels. Let me unplug this. Nothing is drawing power from here. Now we are charging roughly at 172 watts from 3 panels, okay, in direct sunlight. We're gonna go outside in a second and I'm gonna show you what it looks like, or how much direct sunlight is pointing at the panels. There's no shade or any of that. So we're gonna go outside. Remember, 3 panels charging 172 watts. All 3 panels are connected in direct sunlight. All right. There's not too much angle left to put on this, but all 3 panels are connected in parallel here. Panel 1 connected to panel 2, connected to panel 3. All right, so all 3 of these panels are connected in parallel right now in direct sunlight. Can't see much up there, and that's the performance that we're getting out of these 3 Linx panels. Seems to be a little bit disappointing. So that's my thoughts on the Energy Kodiak Apex with the Linx panels. I think when I got it, it was called the Solar Silver Kit or something like that. It was a little pricey for what it is. There's some other options out there. like the Gold Zero or some other stuff. But I mean, it is pretty good. It's a solid unit. You can tell there's some quality built into the Inergy Kodiak Apex. There's a lot of marketing hype over it though. Solar panels are, I don't know, pretty average or so whatnot. The good thing about it is pretty light and easy to carry. So like I said, I wouldn't really use them for permanent installation, probably more like a on the go or a cabin type thing or emergency situations. But there's some other things out there that I would probably try out. One of the things I would try out probably would be the EGO Power Station Nexus or Nexus Power Station. Only problem is that is not a solar charging unit, and that's only an inverter generator for things like that runs off their EGO battery platform. If someone could come out with the solar charging kit for that thing, that would probably be ideal, because you could get high capacity batteries for those. The batteries are interchangeable, but the only downside to that is you cannot charge and use at the same time. So anyways, this is a good kit. Like I said, it is good for what it is. Maybe RV living, tiny house living or something like that. But that's my thoughts. So hope this video helped you guys out, and then we'll see you guys next time.